Hey everybody, it's Dave Duford here at Final Expense Agent Mentor, where I help agents like you succeed in selling insurance. And in today's top agent interview series, I have with me Mr. Nick Williams or otherwise known as the Medicare Millionaire on YouTube. A little bit about Nick before I bring him on here. Nick has been in the insurance and financial service business, building agencies and agents for 30 years now. And now he is putting it all together to help you not just become a successful agent, but also to help build a dynamic, successful insurance agency. So Nick Williams, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Dave. I'm glad to be here with you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So what I want to start off with first is you, like me, have a YouTube channel, and I stumbled across it on the insurance forum. And like what I saw, and I wanted you to kind of describe what you do and kind of who you're trying to target in your insurance YouTube channel.
Well, basically, that was the YouTube channel is a result of my failure, so to speak. I've had great successes, and then I got into a lull several years that I just was sliding. You know, as I told you before, I'm a little older than you, Dave, and you have peaks and valleys, and I was in a rut, and I just I saw this internet marketing thing. I found that to be very exciting, and that kind of lit the fire, and I just married the two, and I start getting on and just kind of explaining what I was doing on a specific day, sharing some knowledge, and I just stayed with it, and I really enjoy it, and it's growing into a little bit more than just that daily video. So there you go.
Yeah, and I think what's unique about, from my experiences with your channel so far, is what I think what makes YouTube great is that it is a personal, honest interaction on a day-to-day basis with an insurance agent. It's not just some sort of, hey man, check out my Ferrari, or check out this
cheesy stuff. Right, yes.
It's actual day-to-day insurance agent in the trenches experience, which to me is way more valuable than flashing materialistic objects that people, you actually get to learn something, you actually get to do something useful. So I think your channel is really unique in that.
And one thing I'll add there is as you know, and I've heard you, I believe I've heard you say that 90% of the agents fail in the first year. I could be wrong there, but certainly the 80-20 rule applies. And, it's just a shame, isn't it? I mean, that people come into this business or any business and they're full of hope and they have dreams. It's a big, big deal. And then it all just falls apart. So wouldn't it be nice to do something for those people, Dave? You know what I mean? And that's really what it's about.
Yeah. And I can tell you the one thing about this profession in general is it's a very lonely one. Most of us that are out there are on our own. We really are. We get up, we have to motivate ourselves out the door, motivate ourselves to see the people, set appointments, deal with rejection. And this job is it's very hard for somebody who's not in sales to understand. It is all up in your head. It's an emotional roller coaster. And the great thing about your channel is you get to see great days, you get to see not so great days. And for the guy that's getting started or maybe frustrated, it helps a lot to kind of have someone to, share that with and understand you're not alone out there, that you're going to experience very similar things across all.
There's a million of us, or maybe 300,000.
Well,
I think I saw a statistic where there's 300,000 licensed life and health agents, something like that. I forget the exact number, but there's a lot of us out there. But again, 80-20 rule, and that prevails.
Why don't you kind of tell us about your background and how you got involved in the insurance business to begin with?
Well, interestingly enough, going way back, it was an A.L. Williams rah-rah meeting, if you're familiar with A.L. Williams, Dave.
Okay,
well, which is now Primerica. I never did sign up with A.L. Williams. I went to a meeting one day, and they were all chanting, Boca, Boca, and it just seemed a little scary because they were out for a trip to Boca Raton. And this is up when I lived in Maryland. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And it seemed a little cultish. But I mean, more power to to them, and the Primerica is obviously a successful organization. Having said that, a friend of mine had a Midland National Life Insurance Agency, and it was just a little hole-in-the-wall agency, and I went in there and just cranked it out. I'm a military guy, so I did the military thing. Then I was a union guy, and And I was never comfortable with anything, but I saw this insurance business as my ticket, and I chased it. And, as I said, there's ups and downs along the way, but here I am 30 years later, almost.
Right. Almost 30 years.
Almost. And
so on your channel a lot, it seems to me like your main focus is Medicare supplements. So what I kind of like to hear more about is why are you selling Medicare supplements at this point in your career? And why did you choose that per se as your focus versus other products?
Well, I've done the seminar circuit. I call it big game hunting. I used to do 3 seminars every week for annuities, safe money seminar type things, 3 seminars every month, I should say. And you just live by the sword, die by the sword. The one thing that has saved me, as I said, I went into a lull, and there was several reasons for that, which I won't get into now. But so I was saved by the fact that I had Medicare renewals coming in, and it's common sense that the renewals are fairly substantial if you get a good book of Medicare supplements and also Medicare Advantage. And while it wasn't enough to carry me, really, it saved me from falling. And I said, this is what I've got to build up. But I also sell final expense, the indemnity products, and I'll grab the annuity, but I don't chase annuities. But I will take it. But it's about the renewals. It's about getting up, waking up, and already having a check without having to sell anything. That's what it's about. That's my logic for that.
Yeah, I can tell you from personal experience, and obviously, I tell agents this who are interested in final expense. Final expense's biggest weakness is that their renewal is not much of anything.
Exactly.
And that, while I think it's a great place to start, as you get more experience in this business and a little older, you start to appreciate passive income or yes. Renewal income.
Yes. And the renewals, the persistency of that Medicare business is extremely good. And even when I haven't been attentive to my book of business, I've maintained a fair amount of clientele.
Sure. Yeah. And like you said, life changes, you may not want to work as much. You may want,
at some point, you're going to want to slow down.
Yeah. Things change in your life. So I think it's smart to have that as at least a piece of your business. So let's kind of talk about, I'm interested to hear, because I talk to a lot of top producers and I always like to hear what they have to say about how they run their business. So what I'm curious to hear, Nick, is kind of give me a typical breakdown of, say a typical week in the field, from setting appointments, running appointments, servicing clients. Kind of how do you do your week?
Well, I have a telemarketer. So and that telemarketer is working a 40-hour work week. Filipino telemarketer. She's fantastic. I work with her very closely. I have salesdollars.com working, and it's a very smooth system. Every day I'm booked up. So I have more leads than I can ever work. So I average about 10 new leads every day. And Dave, you probably know if you get out there and you sit down and you start selling, you're not going to make it to 10 houses.
Right.
So, but you might make it to 10 in one day and get nothing. So, and I do that. But I will, so I'll get up, I'll pack a cooler, put like a 6, 7, 8 waters in a little cooler. I pack it with ice, and I'm on the road, man. I check and make sure I got my bag together. And I got clipboards. I got 2 clipboards. I got one with all the appointments. So when I get to the door, I'm official. You know what I mean? It's like, here, I'm here. You talked to Rachel in my office yesterday about the Medicare. I'm here to go over and see if I can help you out. And show them the clipboard, and they're like, huh? And I go, and I'm just grinding, man. And that's what it's all about. Getting in the car, getting out the door, and grinding. And the same thing can be said for on the phone, except you don't have to pack a cooler. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So if you're selling over the phone, it's the same thing. You're grinding one way or the other. You got to grind. And that's the way I look at it. Maybe it's a bad metaphor. Some people don't like those hardcore metaphors, but I do.
Well, you need a track to run on, right? You got a system. You just have to implement, and that's what it's all about, is constant daily implementation. So
yes.
Let me ask you a question, Nick. Do you have So it sounds like you don't really set any of your appointments, or your appointment setter does all that work for you, correct?
Yes. And I think that's real smart. I believe, but I set my appointments AM, PM. So I don't set exact times. So you figure seniors are going to be home. So, and if they're not, and Dave, you probably know, if you set 5 appointments in a day, you're going to have appointments where the people aren't home anyhow. Right. You know, seniors, they forget. So I just show up, and again, it's AM, PM. I get there when I get there, and if I don't get to that lead today, I'll get there tomorrow, and I'll say, hey, I was supposed to be here yesterday. I got tied up, and but anyhow, here I am. And you know, you just put a big smile on your face and hope they let you in. And, you know, do your thing. So I'll go, Dave, I'll take leads. It'll be a week later before I get to the door. And I'll say, you know what? I was supposed to be here last week. Got real busy. But anyhow, here I am. So that's my approach.
So when your appointment setter calls, they're saying, hey, when do you want Nick to show up, in the morning or afternoon? What works better? And then
it's morning or afternoon. And, you know, it's a very simple presentation. We want to help you with your Medicare supplement insurance. We're going to have somebody in your area tomorrow to go over any changes that may occur that would affect you either positively or negative. You would want to know, and we can have them stop by morning or afternoon, which would be better for you. And then they'll give a rebuttal. Like, I already have an agent. Well, that's fine. We just want to go over the changes in Medicare and determine if there's any help that we can provide you. Would morning or afternoon be better? So it's 2 closes, morning or afternoon, and then we let them go. You know, we're not going to push for the appointment. So
right, interesting. So what are your daily appointment goals that you have, and how many days a week do you run in the field?
I have 10 leads every day is what I average. Okay. I very seldom make it to 10 houses. Although, like I said, sometimes, you know, I'll go to more than 10. I map them out on Microsoft Streets and Trips for the most efficient route, and I'll just run them. So my goal is to sell every day. And, you know, Dave, normally I sell something every day. And if I make one sale every day, I'm very, very happy.
Sure.
I want more, but I want one sale every day. And that's my goal, you know, but I've got to the point where I really do. It's a little bit disappointing that I only have one sale. I mean, good. I want more than one. I want, because sometimes I'll get 5, 6 sales in a day, and, you know, and then I'll go in stretches where I only get 1 or 2, and it's disappointing, you know?
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So you're working, when you say you've got 10 leads, the fresh leads that come in on an average daily basis, you're seeing them the next day, more or less. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And maybe some you missed the other day or the other week.
Exactly.
And if you got time, it's kind of how you approach. Okay.
Go ahead. No. What I do is I incorporate the new leads into the ones that I didn't see. And then I reroute them in Microsoft Streets and Trips.
So I'm just curious, this is really interesting to me. Do you work much evenings, or are you pretty much like?
No evenings.
So you're home by dinner time every night then?
Yes. And unless I choose to, like not this upcoming week, you know, Dave, you probably realize that when you have this, a YouTube channel or something, a platform, I'll call it, it can take up a lot of time. So I'm having to make decisions about when I'm working. So I'm consolidating my sales to blocks, and so I'm considering it more of a blitz. And when I do that blitz, so to speak, I'm hoping that I have the energy to run into the evenings on a consistent basis while I'm on that blitz, so to speak.
Sure. Okay. So let's see what else here. Do you ever just flat out door knock your leads? I mean, it sounds like you'll go see people you miss, but do you ever just show up unannounced without ever having called to attempt for an appointment?
Nah, not really, because I have so many leads. And I make it easy on my telemarketer I gave you a simple telemarketing script. You know, that is the script. I don't qualify it. I don't want to know about health. I don't know what plan they have. I don't want to ask any qualifying questions. So I make it easy on the telemarketer to get me a lot of appointments. And so she does. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, she got me 19 in one day. You know, and I get there, and, you know, it's about the agent. Dave, you know that agents, when they are not selling, they're like, these leads suck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's not the leads. It's when we walk up to the door, and do we have a good, strong presentation at the door? Are we smiling? Do we look confident? It's not the leads. And I don't have any problem. And Dave, you probably know this. You could give one agent, let's say there's a direct mail. So you send out 1,000 pieces and you get maybe 15 back. One agent could take them and do nothing and say the leads are terrible. The next agent gets them and cleans up.
Yeah.
And so it's never the lead. Well, I won't say never.
Isn't that, but there is a lot of truth in what you're saying. I mean, I can think of several agents in areas where there's several agents I have, and I know one guy, this guy's writing $250,000+ a year. And then I know another guy who's struggled out of the business, and it's the same city, it's the same area. It's like they're working the same people.
Same leads.
It's always the bane of, I think, recruiters that train agents and want to bring them up as well. Why does this guy do it and the other? But it comes down to the agent, like you said.
Well, it's self-awareness. If we can acknowledge that we have a weakness, then we can fix it. And there was a publication. I don't know if it exists anymore. I think it was called Life Insurance Selling or Broker World. And there was this guy, John Melchinger, and he ran a piece in an article of every publication. He had an article in there, and his tagline was, "How are you going to get better if you don't know you're sick?" So,
right.
That analogy carries over to, if there's an agent, if you have a weakness, you gotta be self-aware. And if you won't acknowledge that you lose confidence at the door, or if you won't acknowledge that when you ask for that check, or however you get, a lot of times we don't get a check now, we just put the data into the system. Sure. But if you falter at that point, or if you can't see your weakness, how are you going to fix it? And so I'm real, and I have weaknesses, and I want to acknowledge them, at least to myself, and so that I can fix the weakness. So there's people that are complaining, about the leads or whatever. A lot of times they really need to just stop and say, okay, I'm not successful. I've been in this business. I've been plugging away. I've tried this system. I've tried that system. I'm not successful. It's me.
Right.
It's not this business. It's not this industry. I don't have the sales skills, and I need to improve my sales skills, or I don't have the management, which is time management and whatever else. Somewhere they're faltering. And, a little bit of a rant. There you go.
That's true. I mean, I just got done reading a book. Who was it? It was Brian Tracy.
Oh, yeah.
Maximum Achievement, or one of his many books he has. And one thing I learned really well from that book was always blame yourself first. And I am responsible. Yes. Even if you want to blame somebody else, always say I am responsible, because the reason he says that is because, well, if you start with yourself first, what did you do that caused this problem to happen? It may not be readily apparent to you, but if you begin in that mindset, you begin to look at yourself and investigate yourself to see what you could do to improve yourself. And I think that's a wise standpoint to start with in sales. Is that,
yes, and also, when I came into this business, I was 25 years old. I was a kid. I wasn't a grown-up 25-year-old by any means. And actually, by delving into all these books like Brian Tracy, I remember, I think his first one might have been How to Swim with Sharks Without Getting Eaten Alive. I don't know, but I've read all of them, and the Tony Robbins and the Og Mandino, and reading all these books, it makes you a better person.
Right.
So I'm all, and I got away from that in a big way over a long period of time. It's almost like I don't need those books. But then when I went back to them, which is in this phase of my life, and YouTube is just this incredible resource. Yeah. We have Dave Buford out there and stuff to follow, and these things that's helped to reignite a fire within me. So I would suggest anybody to read those books and stay with it. I did the Dale Carnegie course, Toastmasters. I did all kinds of things. I did everything that I could because I knew I had a weakness, and that was that I didn't have the ultimate confidence to succeed. So I did whatever I had to do. And it took a lot of time. I mean, but in the beginning, you could run on enthusiasm. and that works.
That's important too.
Yes.
That'll carry you far.
Yes, it will carry you. But after 6 months or a year, when you start getting a little, that's when the people fall apart,
That's true. That's true. I want to go back to a point you made earlier about how you set appointments. You don't pre-qualify. So just to kind of play devil's advocate here, why not pre-qualify? Certainly you're running appointments where, your Medicare people are on oxygen and you can't flip a sup on them.
Yes.
Why cast a broad net versus get really specific on the phone and only see people who are high odds buyers?
Well, and I can walk out the door real fast. Like, hey, you look like everything's taken care of, and obviously you're on oxygen. You couldn't, there's nothing that I could do to help you, even if you wanted to. So I'm just going to get on down the road, but I want as many, but okay, there may be the husband there and he may be more than healthy, or the spouse, the wife may be there and may be more than healthy. It may be that they have a child. So you can get referrals, but I just want as many opportunities to sell in a day as possible. And I don't have a problem selling, and it's a system. And I suppose that if you have extremely qualified leads, well, first of all, you're going to get fewer of them. So that would put you, that may keep you from walking out the door that day. I can walk out the door every day and have leads. So Dave, the biggest problem people have is sitting in, staying home.
Yeah, sure.
It's that body at rest is dead, Body in motion stays in motion. A body at rest is dead. And so even if you just keep moving, keep grinding. And that's what I would say. And by not qualifying the leads further than, does the person want to see me or not? Then I'm moving, I'm a body of motion, and as a body of motion, I can be successful.
Do you think that because of the more, I would say, exposure to more leads, even though they're unqualified, that there are just more opportunities that present themselves just because you're constantly in motion and just seeing more people?
Yes. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? And I think that you get more swings of the bat. And, again, there's a lot of, you go to, depending on the areas you go, where there's sometimes you walk into a home and there's not just that person there. There might be that person. There might be 4 or 5 other people there. And that might be the norm. There might be several generations living in the same home. I tend to stay away from writing the younger people because I don't want to go fully underwritten insurance. That's one thing I don't do. I mean, I'll do it for myself. I'll do it for somebody in my family, but I don't want to get into writing, a $250,000 term policy. Not too often, all that underwriting and the APS and all that type of stuff. But I do want to, catch the neighbor who's over there every day having coffee.
Yeah.
So, and this because you're in those same houses. And, so there's a lot of opportunities that present themselves just because you're active.
Yeah.
And I would say that might be the way to put it. It's, activity, creates opportunities. So.
Right. Exactly. Those are good points you made here. So back to, I'm curious because I'm sure some of these people watching this sell Medicare want to, and maybe they have, and they've experienced some objections on the phone to setting an appointment. What are your most common objections that you or your appointment set experience, and what do you say to rebuttal it?
Well, I do have my telemarketer send me 2 phone calls every day, and I've made a bazillion calls myself over the years. But obviously, I'm not making the calls now, which really makes life easy. It takes a component out of the equation that's a difficult component, as you well know. But I already have an agent. That's fine. We're just going to come by and see if we can, just to make sure everything's working for you, make sure there's no changes that have occurred. Having said that, would morning or afternoon be better for you? So just go back to that morning or afternoon. And well, that's what I do. So you do it any way you want as far as if you want to schedule a time. But so I already have an agent. I've already taken care of that. That's what they say. I've already taken care of that. That's fine that you've already taken care of that. However, we just want to go over and see if there's any changes in the Medicare rules that would affect you either positively or negatively. You would want to know. Again, we're going to have somebody in your area tomorrow, and we'd like to have them stop by. Would morning or afternoon be better? So no matter, it doesn't matter the objection. You just restate the objection and go for one more close, and that's it. So, I already have an agent. I've already taken care of that. Those are probably the biggest ones that we run into. Some people say, well, my health prevents me from making a change. Maybe you want to listen to that one. I don't know.
Right.
But again, you could just say, again, it doesn't matter. We're just trying to see if we can come by and help you out. Would morning or afternoon be better?
Yeah, and I'll just, as a quick side note here, as far as training for you guys, it's funny, I did a training on appointment setting for final expense agents the other day, and I think I spent like 20 minutes pounding into the brains of these agents that you've got to close for the appointment after each rebuttal. And you notice Nick here says his closes, would morning or afternoon be better? If he didn't say that, if he had said, does that sound okay? Well, that's a yes/no question. Whereas,
right, no, yes, no.
Nick's assuming somebody's going to see me. It's going to be in the morning or afternoon, and that's why he's got so many appointments set up. Is because he's just boom right to the close.
They call that the fatal alternative. You've heard that, right?
No, I just assume close is what is the fatal alternative.
Well, in some old sales books I've read over the years, it's called the fatal alternative, morning or afternoon.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely no yes nos. None of those. So,
but it works psychologically.
Yes.
I actually have a guy who calls for, he does more like annuity reviews, and he cold calls for him down in Florida, and he made that little change that you just suggested. And he got what did he get? 10 appointments in 3 hours, and usually
that's a tough racket. Cold calling for annuities.
He's more, some changes and just generic.
Right. Yes.
Kind of goes to annuities in his pitch. So but it works really well. So I just wanted to mention that. So you mentioned earlier, Nick, that you do telemarketing leads, and I'm on record for not liking telemarketed leads whatsoever. So I'm just kind of curious, how are your telemarketed leads different than, say, what you would buy through a vendor? And why do you prefer them, say, another source, say direct mail maybe being more common?
Well, I like direct mail.
You do?
And,
okay.
Yes, I do. And I use direct mail. It's just certain times of the year. During this period of the year, it's more telemarketing. I get some FMO help during the Medicare season to do direct mail. I'll also just... it might be maybe next month, I would say, I'm going to do 3,000 direct mail pieces this month to shake it up. And so direct mail leads are the better leads. I mean, clearly, they are the better leads. And I like showing up to the door with that piece in my hand. I'll say, hey, and what I do is I photocopy them on a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper on my clipboard, and I'll just show them a copy of it. Mm-hmm. So, and, I like the clipboard thing. It makes me look official. You know what I mean? Got my clipboard, and I'll just say, you sent this in, and, I'm here to go over the information. I only door knock the direct mail leads. I don't call any of them. So I just show up.
You only door, you don't call to set appointments?
No, never call. Really? I nenever call a direct mail lead. Never, ever.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm too lazy to, Dave. I don't want to call. It might get rejected.
Well, as long as you call on them somehow.
That's right. That's right. When I'm at the door, okay, if you call and they say no, are you not going to go see them? And you're still going to go see them, I would assume. So why not just go see them?
Right.
So this is very debatable.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
You might want to grab the low-hanging fruit first. Possibly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all have our stylistic preferences, as I say. I mean, there's not the wrong way is not doing anything. The right way is
that's right.
That's right. Well, we kind of have our little preferences. Okay, so you kind of do a little bit of everything. Telemarketing is just one.
Yes. But I definitely I've worked many direct mail leads over the years, and. It's we a long time ago when I first started in this business, we would call one of the things that I would do is we would do the mortgage insurance, which basically is either decreasing term insurance or it's a universal life or whole life. And but we had this one piece that said there's a monster in your mortgage, and they showed a picture of a monster and with its hands like shoving dollar bills in its mouth. This was with Midland National Life Insurance Company, which is a fantastic life insurance company.
Right.
And so that monster in the mortgage piece, we ran that to death, and it would get like 3% responses, wow. And but so I used to live and die by direct mail. So this is just inexpensive for the telemarketing for me.
Sure.
It's inexpensive.
And you hire the telemarketer direct, right? You're not paying a company to get the lead. So I imagine you're getting it wholesale instead of retail.
That's correct. And I do enjoy that relationship. I think that having the telemarketer work for me, I can manage them and, communicate with them. And I think that they want to do a better job for you if they have some interaction with you.
Right.
I don't know about contracting out telemarketing leads. I mean, I don't recall doing that successfully. Not that there's places that will not or cannot do that. I just haven't had success with that.
Yeah, so you've got a hands-on approach.
Yes, if I don't manage that, and then you're always wondering, well, what did this person say? And is this a real lead? So there's a lot of skepticism in third-party leads.
Vendor's job is to just make a sale, right? Just like our job is to make a sale. But the problem is there's this disconnect, right? So
yes,
you don't quite know when you
don't quite know, and you're suspicious.
Yeah,
most agents are suspicious of that vendor that's providing the telemarketed leads. And you know this, Dave. It's like right out of the gate, their radar's up, and they're like, they're probably like, man, I know I'm going to get ripped off. I'm going to spend X amount of dollars, maybe thousands of dollars on these leads, and they're going to be no good.
Right.
That might be a pessimistic viewpoint from that people don't have, and maybe I'm just
usually develop it after a couple of purchases of orders. Unfortunately, with a lot of telemarketing.
Yeah, and then you hear, okay, so you have a vendor. Probably a lot of these are better than what people, how they're critiqued, because you'll get one person that can't run the leads and they'll bash a company.
Yeah.
Tell you how terrible those leads are. And now you got them now, and you've just heard how terrible they are. So you're, oh man,
You're going to bias.
So, so again, it goes back to what we were saying before. You give the better agent their same leads, and he kills it, or she kills it.
Right. So. Sure. So let's transition. I'm interested to hear how you run your actual sales presentation. So how do you do it? So do you go in, are you lovey-dovey with these people for like 15, 20 minutes, or is it a short, get right to the point type of presentation? And are you going right in for a Medicare supplement type of sale, or are you more fact finder approach in how you do it?
Okay. I'm going to try to stay on track with this as I explain it to you, because I don't stay on track when I'm in the house.
Okay.
And so what I do is I have a first question that I usually have, and that's, how's your health? And these people are fine to talk about their health because it's paramount. It's probably the one thing they think about each day above all else, except for their family, perhaps.
Right.
So, then they'll tell me about their health, and they'll say something about visiting the doctor or something. I'll say, well, how much you pay when you visit the doctor? So that may tell me a lot right there. Especially if it's somebody you're in the home, and that you'll find out if they have Medicare Advantage versus a Medicare supplement. Because if they have a Medicare supplement, they may say something like, I'll say, how much do you pay your doctor? And they'll say, well, I pay for the first time I see a doctor each year, but after that, I don't pay anything, which probably tells me they have a plan G.
Right.
Okay. If they say I pay nothing ever, they have a plan F. I don't have to ask them what plan they have.
Yeah.
Or if they say they pay $5 and they're in, Spartanburg County here in the upstate of South Carolina, I know it's between two plans.
Right.
Actually, three possibly, but the two plans are dominant plans, so it's probably between those two. And then if I ask them, well, how much you pay the specialist if you have to see the specialist, then I narrow it down to the exact plan they have. I've never asked them anything about insurance yet. I just ask them how much they pay. Then I'll go in, I'll ask them about extra help. So that gives me a lot of information. They may get into their assets. Thus, and I do sell, I go, again, it's Medicare, final expense, indemnity, and annuity. And they may start talking about money, and you may stumble upon something there. So I'm kind of weaving through this maze. And so, it's a series of questions that aren't invasive. So I don't get into are you healthy or not? It's just more conversational as I'm plopping down in the chair. I'm like, so how's your health? You doing well? And I ask it sincerely, as I'm looking at the oxygen tank.
Yeah, right.
But and some people will say, well, their health's fine. And I'll say, will you take any medications? and then they'll tell you all these medications they take, and you find out, well, their health isn't fine. So then, so it's kind of like I said, I don't have a track I run on from the standpoint of a sequence of questions that I have to stay on. I'm more conversational about it. So you said lovey-dovey. Yeah, I'm more lovey-dovey. So it's like, I just want to talk to them and find out. But I'll know very, very quickly in the first couple minutes just what they have. And they won't even know it. And I didn't ask them anything about it. So, and I'll ask them something like, are you happy with your coverage? And they'll say, it might come up. I'll ask them if they have an agent, so yeah. And I'll say it like this. I'll say, you obviously have an agent taking care of you, huh? And they'll say, well, actually, no, that's a good thing. I have to know that. Or they'll say, yes, I do. And I'll say, well, when's the last time you saw him? And they'll say, well, actually, I haven't seen him. Then I'll know. So somebody could say, well, I have an agent already, and you could buy into that, but, and it might deter you from, pushing. But then if you kind of weed it out, do they really have an agent that is there, that visits them every year? And I have a kind of sort of a rule of thumb. If they do have an agent and that agent visits them every year, I know they're coming back. And if they like the agent, and I'll ask them, I said, do you like them? Do you like that agent? And they say, oh yeah, it's a wonderful person and stuff. Or, oh yeah, and he's got my sister insured down the road. I know not to bother selling, the product line that agent has, because that agent's going to come back. So what's the point? What's the point for Medicare? Okay, for the Medicare. And the agents are very protective with Medicare. You get into final expense, and a lot of guys are hit it and get it, as you well know.
Yeah.
So just fair game, But at the same time, I do want to know if they have an agent, and if there's a strong relationship, I'll write it, and then I'll come back. Then as soon as that agent catches wind of it, they're going to be right back in that house and tell them how bad of a person I am for doing what I've done to them, and then I lose my. If it's final expense, maybe it's a commission advance or something, and it's just not worth it. So do you never replace existing coverage if there's an agent in the home that sounds? No, I do. I do. And if it's something, if I go in, I won't say the name of the companies that I don't want to attack any particular companies, but you know the names. If I go in this area, we have debit companies. We have debit companies that are still active, a couple of them. And as soon as I see that company, I don't care. And then I'll, that they have an agent, and usually with the debit companies, it's a new agent every year anyhow. So it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, or if they have several other companies, and I'll say, that I'm sure that was a nice person and all, but what's important is your wallet. Wouldn't you agree? And, so it's unfortunate because that person probably is with the company. They don't realize that they're, overcharging their customers for this insurance. And there's certain companies, the premiums may be 30% higher. Sure. And I'm referring to life insurance at this moment. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yes, I'm aggressively going after that. I'm going to take that business, so because they're overpaying and I can help. Right. So you're weeding through this just in a conversational manner through the presentation, asking questions. With your knowledge base, what kind of Medicare supplement they have, or generally what kind of life insurance product they have. Obviously, if the guy comes by every month to pick the premium up, you're dealing with something that's probably pretty pricey. So basically, and I'm just trying to get a better idea here. I have a transition to get to other products. Mm-hmm. And so I've talked about Medicare, and by going through this process that I have, I can weed through if it's a health issue or something like that, if they have cancer or whatever, I know what I can do. And if there's nothing there, I'll say, or here's one of the things I like to do. If I know that they're well taken care of, they have an agent, everything is good, I'll say something along the lines of, well, you've made some good decisions there, because I would not change anything with that Medicare. Compliment them. You've made some good decisions. And then I go and I say, we want to help you in any way we can. What other insurances are you paying every month for? Or I'll say, what other insurance companies are taking money out of your checking account every month? And So then they'll say, well, I don't know. And 9 times out of 10, it's just my life insurance. I just put my head down, got my pen in my hand. I say, who's that with?
Good.
And the conversation is broached. And once we broach the conversation, now but if I pitch the Medicare and I lose, then I say, okay, I'm a loser in the eyes of the client, right? I've lost. Now I want to go, well, okay, let's talk about life insurance now. I don't think that works too well. So I want to go down that avenue of Medicare, find out what opportunities exist. And if I see it's a very low probability that will have any success there, I'll make that transition by saying, I want to help you with any of your insurances. What other companies are taking money out of your checking account each month for insurance? And then I'll mention, like some people pay for accident policies or cancer policies or something like that. And they'll say, well, no, only my life insurance. And again, it's who's that with? And I just shut up. And they'll say, well, that's what that, they'll tell me a name and I'll say, and how much do you pay each month? And how much coverage does that give you? So I guess when I say I don't have a track to run on, I have the track, but I don't try to do it in a sequence that's fixed.
Yeah, it's not canned or
right. It's not canned. It's not canned. And I find that if I have a buyer and if I see that there's an opportunity, I'm waiting for them to tell me how to sell them. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to push and push and push. Sure. Like, I'm just going to sit back. I'm just going to sit back and wait until something is brought up that enables me to go, there, I got you on that point, like when they say that they have an agent or whatever. And then later they say, that agent, my sister really is mad at that agent because she called and the agent never returned her call. I'm like, okay, just a little something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Got a little angle there. Right.
Probably a bad example, but you get my point.
Yeah, no doubt. I understand. I mean, you find you got a company that has a 50% higher price for life insurance. Certainly there's your angle there when you like to save more money.
Yeah.
So your job, what you do is to go in, you find the angle between one of the options that you have. You make a presentation, try to sell it if you can. I'm curious, how long does your average sales call last? And then if you make the sale, and then if you don't make the sale, how long is it till you pack up and you're out the door?
I usually pack up real fast. And because again,
10 minutes, 15 minutes? How fast?
Yes, 10 minutes, okay. 15 minutes tops. Okay. I'm not hanging out in a house where, and again, by asking those questions, so I'm selling Medicare. So I can ask just a few questions and I know what they have.
Sure. Right.
So what's the point of hanging around?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's 5 minutes. I don't want to be rude though. I think it's kind of rude to, to just kind of abruptly get up and leave. That's, right. It just is. Or I'll tell them, I'll say something along the lines of, well, I can't make any money here. Just making a joke. And I'm going to get down the road. And they don't mind that. And they'll say, no, they'll laugh and they'll say, no, you're not going to make any money here.
You're right.
So, that's, but now if I can sell, I'm going to stay there as long as I have to. And I have no time and I have no specific track that I run on from the standpoint of time, because if I can make a sale, well, that's the most valuable home that I'm going to see that day, and I'm going to stay there as long as I have to stay there. And until, you get that buying signal, Dave, it's like when they exhale, it's like, okay, I'm comfortable with you now. Then I'm done. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, and a lot of times I'll tell people that I'll say, I'll talk to them and I'll say, the important thing is that you're comfortable. And, and I'll ask them questions about that. But if you sell them and they're still uptight, because seniors suffer from anxiety. I believe it's 40% of seniors literally suffer from anxiety. They don't sleep. And that's much higher percentage than the population as a whole. So I want to, I want to alleviate that anxiety. And again, you know what I mean by the exhale, Dave?
Yeah. You can physically see them break down and
it's like
defenses is what it is.
Yeah. Like, okay, I got my guy here. This is my guy. I'm good now. Thank you. and then you can proceed and wrap things up and move on. But it's not a technical presentation at that point. I mean, because the technical stuff is going to get you the sale, but it's going to get you the rescission, or whatever you want to call it, is the cancellation. Sure. It's going to get you the cancellation later. So I don't want that, and most of my business sticks. Even the final expense business I write will stick,
right?
Because, of course, you always get surprised with that final expense. I mean, potentially, and you just never know where it's going to come from. So,
right. It's true. So curious, you've been in this business for 30 years now. You've seen all sorts of agents come and go, I'm sure. If we look at the agent who is new to this business, do you think that their focus should be on representing one product or possibly cross-selling from the start? And if they shouldn't cross-sell, when do you think they should start, coming from the amount of experience you've had?
Okay. And understand, I have done different things in the financial services industry. I went into I did some real estate stuff and got a big spank in there, when everything crashed. So I've done some other things and, but I've always been in the financial services or investment arena, always. And so what is the question again?
Yeah. So if you imagine you're in the shoes of a new agent today.
Okay. Gotcha.
About selling insurance.
Yes.
Should they cross sell out the gate or should they focus on one product?
Yes. I believe that, coming in, you should learn. It's not that much to learn several products, but certainly you've got to know that final expense up front, because that's how you're gonna feed the family.
Right.
So, but I'm going to sell Medicare. I'm going to start with Medicare because that's the easiest lead, and I'm going to spin off. But these new agents have to know how to sell final expense insurance, and they need to get to that Medicare Advantage season and just kill it. So I believe, again, it's like the easier lead is the Medicare, and the easy spinoff is the final expense. So if you're very adept at spinning off and getting that final expense, you'll be okay. And so I would not worry about certainly not getting into anything. You see companies that are advertising like single premium life and annuities and stuff. I would not worry about that if I'm a new agent at all. Not for, if I did get it, I'd turn it over to somebody else, because you can go down that rabbit hole and it's just a time drain. Yeah. But again, if you get, for what I do, it's the Medicare, and I can spin off and sell anything from that, but you just got to be proficient at doing it. So I have that little transition that I have. We want to help you save money on any of your insurances. Having said that, what other companies are taking money out of your checking account each month for insurance? That is a transition that works. And there are many others, but that's one that I use. It's pretty much the only one that I use. It's the only one that I need to use because it does work. And then I want to be very good at getting that final expense sale. And Dave, I think that we make this more complicated than it is. It's not rocket science, Final expense insurance is not that complicated. Mm-hmm. Medicare, once you got a good grasp of it, is not that complicated. Maybe when you get into that Medicare Advantage and stuff, it's kind of a lot of laws and stuff and a lot of rules and, all the copays, coinsurance and deductibles. But it really isn't that complicated. If you're a professional, well, you should learn your profession, right? And so you should, be pounding the books at night. There should be no reason that you don't know exactly how a final expense product works and how to compare final expense products and how to sell final expense products. So when you get down to the close of your sales presentation, how do you close it? Like, what do you ask? How do you present the solution you're going to sell them, be it Medicare or final expense? And then how do you deal with the objections? Well, I generally... I tell people what to do. So I don't ask them. I never ask for the sale because, and I'll tell you this story. I went into this guy's, he was way back when I was just a rookie agent, and I was selling, one of the things that we would do is sell individual health insurance to get off to get other products. And you would try to sell to small business owners. And I was selling to this guy who owned a tire brokerage, but he ran out of his house. He sold tires all over the world from his home. And I went in and I was saying, oh, you could get this $200 deductible, 80/20 to whatever, or you could get this, $1,000 deductible. And so I'm telling him all this stuff, and he goes, who taught you how to sell? So who taught you how to sell? And immediately I'm like deflated. I'm just a kid at the time, like I said before. And he said, look, I want you to pack up your bags, and I want you to go back and tell your manager to teach you how to sell. He goes, don't ask me what I want to do. Don't give me all these options. Tell me what's best for me. Tell me what to do. If I knew what to do, I wouldn't need you. So I've taken that, and over the years, it's not like I immediately changed.
Right, sure.
But over the years, I'm like, man, that guy really taught me a lesson. And now I don't ask anybody what to do. I say, here's the problem. Here's how we're going to fix it. And what I need to do to get it started is this. So, and, but I want some acknowledgement from them before I go down that road. Like, well, that, being as, and I'll just say something like, if it's Medicare Advantage and the hospital was no longer in the network, it's like, well, you can't stay in that plan. So you need to make a change. You know what I mean? So you just tell them. It's not, it's pretty much matter of fact. It's not a question.
You get them to buy in that it's a problem.
Yeah, if it's a final expense sale, it's like, well, you don't want to waste money. So here's how we're going to do this. I want to get you, we're going to set you up. But first, I need to make sure that you qualify. So I'm going to go through these medical questions, and then we're going to call in. We're going to stop the bank draft to that other company, and then we're going to first we're going to make sure you're accepted here. And then we're going to call and we're going to stop the bank draft to that other company. And then I'm going to go right into it. I'm going to walk right through it. So I don't think, I don't do that. Do you want this or that or anything? Because I want to tell them what to do. And I even go so far as if a client tells me what's going on, I stop them and I say, no, I say, I'm the expert here. So I'll tell you how this works, but you can't tell me. That's not allowed. And I do that. And they'll it's like they're admonished. But tell me, Dave, if you go and see your CPA, is he asking you what to do? Is he taking your advice on how to handle this situation? No, he's telling you what to do, or she's telling you what to do. The doctor's telling you what to do. The lawyer's telling you what to do. And these are the people that you listen to. So act like a lawyer. That's terrible advice.
Yeah, well, ask your lawyer.
Yeah. But act like that authoritative. And that's
be consultative, right? I mean, that's the difference is you're prescribing solutions,
Yes. Yeah. Like here's the problem. Here's the fix. Let's get it done. And so I don't know about closes. If you've followed the process and they're comfortable, it's like, again, here's the problem. Here's how we're going to fix it. First thing we need to do is get you qualified. And like for final expense, I'll say, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually call at the underwriting department. They're going to do a review, and they're going to tell us as we sit here right now whether you're approved or not for the most part. And then so when I walk out this door, everything we're going to have fixed this problem. And so it's just the assumptive close, if you will. But I like to call it maintaining that authoritative presence. This is what we're doing. This is how we're handling it. And if you don't do it, you're stupid.
So what happens if they object? Let's look at a Medicare sale. Let's say they object. You got a Medicare deal that you can save the money on. It's an obvious benefit, and they have this sense of non-urgency. How do you deal with?
Well, a lot of times it goes back to change, and I'll say, clearly this would be better for you. So, and oftentimes I sit down with seniors, and they will. And I'll go over the same scenario as I have with you just now, and they won't change. And do you know why? And they'll look at me and they'll just kind of like, have that deer in the headlights, look. And then I'll say, it's because they're just afraid to change. And that's why. So, and I'll tell them, I'll say, you're a successful person. You've got, you've got a nice home here. You've obviously made some good decisions. At what point is it that you decided to stop making good decisions? So, and I may not narrow in and tell them they're not making good decisions, but I'll say when seniors turn age 65 or they get into Medicare, it's like for some reason they stop making those good decisions, and there's no reason not to save money, is there? And, so I'm not going to beat them up about it, but that's logical. And they go, and a lot of times that's what it's all about. It's not about, they don't like what you've said. They don't, or they don't like you. They probably like you. They probably like what you said. It probably makes sense, but man, they're knuckled down because they don't want to change. And I want to let them know that it's okay to change. And, and that's a big thing, but I don't fight with it too much. And Dave, you probably know, if you do a good presentation and everything, you don't usually get a lot of kickback. And I do almost every sale I make is a one call closed.
Right.
So I'm not, and because I'm taking my time, as I said before, if they're a buyer, if I see that there's a sale to be made, I'm going to camp out and I'm going to wait until it all makes sense. And then I'm going to close it. So somebody could probably close faster.
Sure.
So, but it's just the way I do it. And, and it does make sense, So
as we wrap up our presentation here today, Nick, I always like asking this of agents who've been around a long time, like you. And I'm curious, like I said earlier, you've seen agents come, you've seen agents go. What do you think are the common threads between the successful agents that stay in this business, and why do people fail? What's your thoughts on that? If we could help agents watching this learn what to do to stay in business and be successful.
Well, I think we've probably touched on a little bit of it. It's like, work hard, pack that cooler and go to work, man. Even if you're at your desk, you got to mentally pack that cooler and go to work. And just like anybody else. So I would say that agents, they get bad habits because they're able to, and they don't work hard enough. And I believe that you should get as many leads as you can and get out there and start selling. So if you start, like if you're selling final expense, get the cheapest leads you can get, and just pound it, grind it, and get the B leads. I think there's a company, Dave, you might be familiar with this. You can buy old direct mail leads or something like that. Just show up at the door, show up at 20 doors, show up at 100 doors with that card. Say, hey, you sent this in a while back. I don't know if anybody's taking care of you, but I just wanted to stop by and see if I could help you out. And they'll be like, huh?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Yeah, this the final expense, and hand them the card or show them I give them my clipboard and they can see. And so it's hard work, but then also once we get going, we get overwhelmed. So the business management side of it, time management, lead management, piles of paper on our desk that aren't moving properly. So after a while, it starts to overwhelm us. So, and then we just, people, if you're not practicing your craft and being the best that you can be, I mean, again, you'll get by in the beginning on enthusiasm. Everybody does good the first couple months, don't they, Dave? So, right. But then the enthusiasm starts to wane, and one, they'll get too arrogant. Oh, I got this. Well, they don't. And or they just, that enthusiasm wanes, and they, they struggle, and then they'll switch. They'll go to another lead source because they didn't improve their skill set enough to continue down the road. And then they'll do another lead source, then another lead source, then they'll be out of the business. So just grind it. Get when I started, we would literally call out of the phone book, the white pages. And I remember making sales out of the white pages, just pounding it. We were in a bullpen and we were just pounding out numbers. And, we would call new neighborhoods, and it would be, you just call a new neighborhood, a new subdivision, and say, this is Nick Williams. I help people with mortgage insurance. I see that you just bought a home in that community. And what I wanted to do was stop by and help you out with your insurance. We have a program that will pay for the home if either you or your spouse passes away. And if you live, it'll pay off your home early. So, with the cash value and stuff. And so, I made that call 10,000 times.
Yeah.
So, but it's grinding, it's just grind. You got to grind. And if you were to be say, we talked about a CPA or something, well, those people grind, they go through college, they pay for it and everything. And then they have to go take that exam. And I know guys that have done that, and they're up burning the midnight wax. They're up all night studying. they're working a 40-hour-a-week job, then they're up studying to take that exam. And so, we just got to put in those extra hours, and make it happen.
Absolutely. That's so true. So Nick, as we wrap things up, give us a little bit of information. If somebody wants to contact you, learn more about what you do, where can we find more about you?
Well, we have the Medicare Millionaire Facebook page, Medicare Millionaire YouTube channel. Our website is down, MedicareMillionaire.com, because we just incorporated a couple things. For example, we have the Sales Dollars program, salesdollars.com program. We've got that for $79 a month, where normally you'd have to pay $129 a month to get access to that product. So we're real happy about that. And, so yeah, just hit us up. We'll help you out there. If that's something that, if you're doing telemarketing, it's a fantastic product. And, we're pleased with that. So there you go, Dave.
Well, Nick, I want to thank you so much for joining me today on the interview. It was a great interview. I think the agents listening to this will really like and enjoy what you have to say. And I think if they listen to what you've gone through, you've really given a lot of detail to an entire sales and marketing system that not a lot of agents will share. So I appreciate you being willing to do that.
Well, I'm happy to be here with you, Dave, and I appreciate you inviting me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's always fun to do these kind of things. And Nick, best of luck to you. And thanks again so much for coming on the show. We'll see you next time.
All right, man. See ya.
Bye.